Okay, so I am ready to sister some joists. I did have to add another piece of blocking over in that corner over there. I forgot about that. So that's in now. And so that runs underneath the wall and to the next joist over. So now what I'm in the process of doing is marking off where I want to put my screws when I sister these joists. And I want to put them about 12 inches apart. I think most people when they sister, I believe, is 16 inches apart. I'm going to go 12. I want to have this thing as solid as possible, and I may even add bolts to this also every 16 inches. So this is going to be pretty rock solid when I'm done. So I have the tape measure set across there so I can mark off 12 inches, and I'm just going to use this to mark off the 12-inch mark along the joist. And then what I'm going to do is pre-drill. I'm going to be putting in 3 screws per 12 inches. So I'm going to pre-drill and countersink, slightly countersink them. So what I'm doing is going to pre-drill here on this side of the joist. The sister is going to go on the opposite side. I'm going to be gluing that. Then I'll be attaching it. I'll be holding it in place using some clamps. I have 8 clamps here. I went to Harbor Freight and got a few cheap ones, and they're like $3 a piece. And then I had some in the garage also. So I've got 8 clamps, and I'll be clamping the sistered piece together after I glue it. And then with those pilot holes drilled, I'm going to be then attaching screws through to the sistered joists. And from what I've read, it's a good idea to screw and to clamp, because what happens is you'll have what's called jacking, where you have 2 pieces of wood together, and as you screw through one side, that screw hits the other piece of wood and it pushes it apart. So that's why I'm using the clamps to hold them together so that it can fight that resistance. So that's what I'm in the process of doing, and I'll just repeat the same process on each one of these joists. And so this should be, it shouldn't take very long, hopefully. And I may have to do some trimming because the old joists here are, oddly enough, I believe this is 5 3/8 inches tall. And that's at the widest part of the joist. It may actually be even shorter over on the wall if you haven't actually measured to see. And a standard 2x6 nowadays is about 5.5 inches wide. So I'm going to have to notch possibly over here just slightly on the wall. So I went to Harbor Freight and got a multi-tool so I can do some notching. They had one on a variable speed one that had some pretty good reviews. So I'll show that a little bit later, but it was $35 on sale, which is it's a really good deal for a multi-function tool. So what I'm going to do now is just go ahead and mark out my 12-inch marks, and then once I get that all done, I'm going to go ahead and drill and then start getting this sister done in here. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I got one started. This is the stud. The new joist is going to be about right here. I think this is where it's going to begin. So I've got about 1.5 inches from the edge is where my first set of screws is going to go. Okay, so I've got all my lines drawn on here, and what I'm going to do now is just go along and put in 3 screws each line. 3 holes each line for now then I'll attach screws later. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start here. And I'm probably about 1.5 inches from the top. Then I'll make another one probably about 1.5 inches from the bottom, and then one in between those 2. So here we go. Okay, so that's the first set of holes drilled. Alright, so I've got the new sister on the far joist over there ready to go in. What I did first of all, I wanted to make sure I got a good fit, so I test fit it, and it looks like it's fitting really well. I actually did have to sand down the middle of the joist because I had the joist position crown up, so there was it had a tendency to do like this, kind of bend up. So the ends were flush with the old joist, but the middle portion was a little raised. So I had to take the belt sander, there's a belt sander, and sand that middle portion down just a little bit. That worked really well, so I was able to get it flush. And the good thing too is I was able to get the belt sander like right up against that wall, which is just almost exactly the right amount of distance I needed in order to sand down this one joist and not affect the other one. So that worked really well. The other thing I did before I even put this in is I notched out the end of the sister. So what I had to do, because the sister, the new joist piece is a little bit taller than these original pieces that are in here. So at the 4-inch mark on the wall, I had to actually notch out about probably about a little more than probably about 3/8 of an inch. I had to notch out so that it would fit and it would be flush with the next joist on the wall there. So I used this multifunction tool to do that.